This video is sponsored by World of Tanks PC. In December of 2019, the internet was alerted to mysterious footage published on Russian social networks. A lone and imposing polar bear makes its way through the snow, searching for food or prey in the brief recording. Everything appears normal at first, but as the camera zooms in, something seems off. What seems to be a strange black mark on the bear's back begins to show up when the animal keeps walking. Then, one of the people nearby can be heard saying that the bear has the codename T-34 painted on its right side. All over the world, people began asking themselves the reason behind such a marking. Was it the Russian military conducting a strange experiment, a scientific sampling, or the work of some malicious pranksters? The T-34 was one of the most famous tanks of the World War II-era Red Army. Nobody knew what it meant. You may not be able to command your own T-34 polar bear, but instead, take charge of your own T-34 tank in World of Tanks PC, a free-to-play massively multiplayer online game featuring over 550 historically accurate tanks squaring off in authentic combat scenarios. It's an intense and detailed experience that will have you testing the strengths and weaknesses of mechanized armies from around the world. Play with friends, rally your teammates, and coordinate tactics. Fight your enemies in over 40 battle arenas and strategize your way across fields, hills, forests, deserts, and cities. Join 100 million other players using the invite code TANKTASTIC to receive 7 days of free premium play, 500 gold for upgrades, and access to the premium T-127 Soviet tank that features some of the best defensive armor of its class. Please note that this code is only valid for new players at the time of registration. Click on the link in the description below and fight in the World of Tanks PC today. The video in question was published on social networks by Sergei Kavry, a member of the World Wildlife Fund, or WWF, who first published it on Facebook and then contacted Russian and international media to grab people's attention of the cruelty the polar bear had suffered. When asked about the video's location, Kavry said that the marked bear's original video was first posted on social media for Chukotsak indigenous people, who, according to other sources, named the bear Misha. He also had no response for who the perpetrators were of the large T-34 black markings on the bear's right side. In the video, the people recording struggled to identify the markings on the animal, to the point that one says, quote, "Why is it so dirty?" Until it can be clearly seen that the bear has been sprayed with the peculiar marking of T-34. Theories and suppositions began to overwhelm social networks. People wanted to know who had the grotesque idea of painting an endangered animal. Wildlife organizations wished to know if it was the military, scientists, pranksters, or animal abusers. Still, it appeared that nobody knew, and nobody could give an accurate description of what was going on in the remote provinces in the Russian Arctic. Nonetheless, the outrage was global. How could people let an endangered species suffer in such a manner? Why was it painted? Anatoly Kochnev, a researcher at the Mammal Ecology Laboratory of the Institute of Biological Problems of the North, learned that the marked polar bear could suffer from the graffiti. When interviewed by the Siberian Times, he said, quote, "The black ratting will mean problems for the bear when it hunts prey." He specified that the bear's natural camouflage, its white coat, will be disrupted by the T-34 black markings, as it will make the beast more visible to other animals. Mr. Kochnev said that the animal must have been sedated. Otherwise, it would have been impossible to draw the graffiti so flawlessly as it can be appreciated in the footage. He concluded by saying, quote, "Scientists could not do this. It could have been somebody who joked like this." The only supposition that remained was that military personnel did it. People were astonished by the colossal reference they had missed when analyzing the bear's mark. Military aficionados quickly pointed out that the T-34 codename painted on a polar bear in the Russian Arctic could only be a reference to one of the most legendary tanks of World War II, the Soviet T-34. They specified that the marking could be a hint of a secret military project that could be using the polar bears for biological weapons, or worse, as targets. Others were more skeptical and said that it could have been some military personnel who simply had an excellent time with the animal and decided to pay a little homage to the tank that gave the Soviets the victory in World War II. The T-34 was a Soviet medium tank that first saw the light in 1940 when the Russian army was getting ready for an imminent German offensive on the Eastern Front. Until 1945, it remained nearly unchanged, with few firepower modifications of the T-34-85 variant. The tank paved the way for the Russian army to capture Berlin and make the Third Reich surrender. The T-34s faced some of the most iconic and effective tanks of World War II, such as the German Tiger and Panzer tanks. Although the historical nods seemed interesting, days after the controversial video was published and seen by millions of viewers worldwide, the Russian Center for Arctic Exploration came up with a technical response that cleared the context behind the event. And it turned out, the scientists were behind the strange markings. Andrei Umnikov, director of the Russian Center for Arctic Exploration, quickly denied that the T-34 referred to the tank. He explained that the mark was made by scientists to allow the locals and experts of specific populations to recognize and differentiate the bear in case he returned to scavenge for food. Umnikov told the media that a team of scientists from the Severtsov Institute of Ecology and Evolution was sent to a village suffering from the continuous visit of polar bears to analyze the potential threat. Senior researcher Ilya Mortvintsev told the Siberian Times, quote, "The polar bear was sedated and examined. The check showed that the male predator was well fed, which meant that he would likely not attack." Umnikov added in his response that in February 2019, a state of emergency was declared in the Novaya Zemlya region over the appearance of more than 50 polar bears in several towns and villages in the Arctic. People were too scared to send their children to school, go to work, or even venture into the wild searching for wood, prompting scientists to analyze the potential threat. It turns out that global warming is behind the migration of polar bears to southern regions. With ice melting at an alarming rate, it's resulted in the loss of habitats of various species, including polar bears. According to the International Union for Conservation of Nature, known globally as IUCN, the polar bear is listed as a vulnerable species. According to data, the global polar bear population will decline by more than 30% over the next 40 years.